Hey everyone, you're listening to the Daydreaming Wolves podcast, and my name is Yarrow. I'm really excited you're tuning in because this is a super special, very close to my heart episode. I mean, they really all are, but I'm celebrating 3 years in business, and there's a couple of things I want to share about that. But first of all, I really want to send a really big thank you to everyone who's been listening and sharing the show, everyone who emailed me with comments, everyone who left a review, and everyone who's become a patron to support the running costs and give me some time and space to create. I'm really, really grateful and super excited about where this podcast is going to go next. So I celebrated 3 years in business last week, and today on the show, I kind of wanted to give you a quick recap to tell you the story of how all of this came to be. I have a few things to share about what I wish I had known sooner. And I also want to tell you a little bit about what my plans are and what I'm wishing for and how you can get involved in my work and what you can expect from the podcast as well. Yeah. So the really cool thing is I'm not just celebrating 3 years in business this week, I'm also celebrating 10,000 listens to the podcast. That's an incredible number. Like, it's a lot more people than can fit in a room. And yeah, I'm just so excited and grateful, especially since we only really had 26 episodes so far. And while I started the podcast in 2016, at the end of that year, I've really only been pouring more time and energy into it for the past 6 months, in which I was interviewing people and bringing out more frequent episodes. So yeah, I'm just super grateful and so excited to be able to do this work, and I'm so grateful also to everyone who said yes to being interviewed on the show. I think that people have been sharing really beautiful, creative, insightful, and vulnerable stuff with me, and I'm just so excited to connect with hearts that way and to tell stories, because I know that can be healing, to know that we're not alone, and to also in that process support other small businesses. That's really exciting and important to me. Yeah. So I want to talk a tiny little bit about how my work started and how Daydreaming Wolves came to be. So in 2015, I was living in Berlin. I was kind of a bit run down. 2014, I would say, was like the middle of my Saturn return and a bit of a spiritual forest fire. My stepdad died that year. I had a big breakup. I moved back from the UK after living for 4 years there, back to Germany, and I also finished my MA, which was painful. Like, writing that dissertation in the middle of that year was a head fog, to say the least. And I was pretty broke and also pretty ill. I was chronically tired all the time. I had a couple of quite deep deficiencies, and I was just really tired, and I had no idea as to what I wanted to do with my life, really. And I moved back to Berlin because I needed to be in a place that was comparatively cheap, and I wanted to be near my family as well. And for work, I was freelancing as a translator and copy editor at the time for a company in London. But after everything, after paying my own health insurance and all that, I was really making less than minimum wage. So I was feeling that my options were limited, and I was really yearning to work creatively for myself, but just was also lacking the confidence and creative ideas. And I kind of just went into hibernation for a little bit, and I've really come to appreciate those periods in our time that feel more like a contraction than an expansion. And I know this sounds super cheesy, but I feel like I learned that from the moon. Like the moon is just always in that dance with the universe of expanding and contracting, and having that trust that the expansion is always coming back, that spring is always coming back, and there's always another way of looking at things, and there's always shift and movement. That is the only thing that we can be super certain about, which is comforting in its own way, I think. So anyway, that spring, 3 years ago, I did a big business training which was an investment of money I really didn't have in the time. So I was paying that with my credit card, and then the third payment bounced, and it was pretty embarrassing. But anyway, that's how I first found my first client in my web design business. And at that point, I had been making websites for other people. Ooh, sorry. I had been making websites for other people, and I had been blogging for 15 years, but I had never done a commercial site for someone else. And I charged 80 quid for that first site, worked almost 2 weeks on it, so not a great business deal for me, but I was just super keen to get that first client and to start building my portfolio. And it was a cool client to work for, and I really liked the website that we made together. And yeah, it started there. I then was more active in some Facebook groups. I met more people. I was just trying to be helpful, and that's how I first found my first 10 clients. And then from them, I received recommendations, and things kind of grew from there. And half a year into doing that, in August 2015, this freelance company that I was working for in London very spontaneously dropped me because they hired someone full-time that was going to work in-house, and so they didn't have any work for me anymore. And it was a shock at the time. I really had imagined the transition into working for myself. I thought I would have more time with a tiny bit of stable income. So that was a big challenge, but it happened. I was just really lucky in that I ran into people that really needed what I had to offer, and it grew from there. And I can now do this, and it's been 3 years, and I still have to pinch myself because I just feel super lucky to not have to work for someone else anymore, to be able to be home with my dog, and that I just get to be myself, really, that I can bring all of who I am, including the hippie stuff that I've often felt ashamed about, and including the queerness and my political ideas that in the beginning I wasn't sure I could afford to share because I thought I couldn't put off more conservative clients. But it's been really nice to learn over the years that I attract clients that have similar ideas, and it's just beautiful to be able to show up that way and to collaborate with people, that I really believe in and that have amazing ideas. Whew, yeah, so that's the quick recap of the web design business. Interestingly, I started this as, all of this started on sarahmagdalenalove.com, which is my old name. And on the Blue Moon this year, almost 2 months ago, I changed my name to Yarrow. I think that's been a long time coming in a way, and in other ways it came super quickly, almost overnight. But I'm really happy I did it, and so that's mainly a private decision that I did for myself. But I'm also changing my web design business name to Yarrow Digital. So this is the first time I'm announcing this. I just changed my domain today, and I feel like that's going to be, the next chapter of that journey. I want to grow in small, sustainable ways. I'm not looking to make a ton of money or to have, thousands of passive income every month, but I have some ideas that I'm really excited about. One of them, for example, is a new course that I'm gonna be offering called, well, it's the current working title. I might come up with something else, I'm not sure. But currently it's called Holistic Business Magic, because I've had so many cool conversations in the past year with people who have creative ideas and want to make an income from it that is sustainable and that feels good, while at the same time really also want to be in alignment with their values, who don't want to rip people off, who don't want to run Facebook campaigns that promise 6 figures, or who don't want to use abusive marketing tactics. So out of these conversations, I've built this course that really kind of goes deeper into these questions. And I'm not saying that I have all the answers, but I think I've created a framework that anyone can use to really explore what those questions mean to themselves. And that's something I'm really passionate about. So the course will not just be technical training about web design and social media and building great structures and having the right software and when to hire out and all that stuff. It's also going to look at self-care for entrepreneurs and bringing magic and intuition into solving business mysteries and challenges. And there's going to be a lot of journaling, and I'm really going to encourage you to follow your heart and think about the values that you want to build your business on. So that is going to be available from the beginning of May. But because I really love the Patreon community and think that this is a cool and more sustainable way of us supporting each other, I'm offering all my trainings to Patreons that pledge $11 or more this month. So the Patreon was initially meant to offer an extension of the podcast. So everyone who pledges $3 or more receives a monthly ritual kit, and that includes a planned friend portrait, some herbal recipes that are really easy to make, a tarot spread, there's an audio pep talk from me, and then there's a little ritual that you can do at home. And the idea is that you can be your own witch and you can make your own spells. And I'm just offering some affordable framework magic for you and some inspiration that you can take and make your own. And at the same time, this is supporting the running cost of the podcast and the blogs that I'm running. And it's giving me some time to dream and think about things that I want to offer you. So I have 26 patrons at the moment. And one of my goals is to reach 30 so that I can make the podcast a weekly show and so that I can just interview more people. I have a really long list of amazing folks that inspire me, and I would love to have more conversations about magic and healing, but also about alternative approaches to business and how we can do things differently and create more space for solidarity and creativity in our lives. So sorry, long story short, anyone who in March pledges $11 or more is going to get access to the current courses that I'm running, which includes a course, which includes a course on web design and one course on branding. And then you'll have early access in mid-April to the Holistic Business Magic course as well. And you will be able in the future anytime to buy this as a one-off thing as well. It's going to cost about $100, I think, and there's going to be a sliding scale as well. And yeah, so another thing that's changed for me really this year or last year is that I've been rethinking the way I'm launching and how I'm communicating my offerings, because I think in the beginning I was pretty easy to impress. I really wanted to make this work, and I had never worked for myself before, and I had never had any education about running a business. So I was looking very much outside of myself for those answers, and I was really yearning for leadership and for someone telling me how to do it, if I'm really honest. And it's taken some time to instead really reconnect with my intuition and think about how I want to do things and what would feel sustainable to me and how I get to redefine success really on my own terms. And so I really don't want to be launching stuff anymore. I don't want to send daily emails to people. I don't want to pester them. I don't want to use language that is abusive in a way. Stuff like saying, if you're ready to, finally manifest 6 figures in 3 months, buy my course now. And if you're not ready for it, then you're gonna fail, which is just not true. There's no one way of doing it. And I think we can all share freely, while also honoring our own time and energy and the resources that we have. So, so I've come to decide to, instead of running Facebook ads or, having intensive newsletter campaigns and pestering people, I want to offer more free content. So this year, for the past few months, I've been running free monthly webinars, which I really, really enjoyed. It was so cool to meet people in person that I had known online. In person isn't quite right, but we were able to see each other because I'm using Zoom, and that's pretty cool. So there's just a ton of topics I love talking about and I happen to know things about, and I'm just really excited to share that. And what that means is that all the courses that I'm offering, you can take them anytime. They're self-study. courses. That means you can do them in a weekend. If you need a website really fast, then you can take this course and just run with it. Or you can take more time if you're really busy, or you don't have a lot of energy, then you can also take 6 weeks, or you can take a whole year. It's just yours to keep, and you can make it your own in a way that works for you. But also at the same time, through these free webinars that happen monthly, you get direct access to me, and you get to deepen what you're learning in the courses, and you get to ask questions that come up. So each time there will be a theme. So we had one on social media and one on SEO, for example. And the next one I have one on clarity in business and creativity. And I think these themes are really good extensions of the courses, but you can also ask anything unrelated in the Q&A part of the webinar. So anything that comes up in the course, you can ask me and we'll talk about it. And I think that's a really cool kind of way of offering these courses at a cost that is like appropriate to a self-study program, while at the same time offering you access to me and the chance to meet other people in those webinars. And it also means that I don't have to stress out about these really intense newsletter campaigns all the time, or like pestering me with stuff all the time, or run really expensive Facebook campaigns where people have to convert at a certain rate, otherwise I'm running them at a loss, and it's all very complicated. Anyway, long story short, so if you're interested in that, if you would like to have access to my current courses and then early access to the Holistic Business Magic one, then you can pledge $11 or more on Patreon, and you'll get access to the courses, but you will also have the monthly ritual kit that I'm sending out, which I think really is a beautiful way to work with your intuition as well. Regardless of what you want to do with these courses, if you just want to build a website for yourself, or if you want to start a blog, maybe you want to write a book, it really doesn't matter. I think that the self-care and the self-healing and the coming together in community to look at this stuff is going to be really helpful for anyone who's interested in these kinds of subjects. Yeah, and of course you can opt out anytime. So that would be a bit mean if you were just pledging $11 one month and then you take all the stuff and you leave. But honestly, if you feel like you're not getting something that you need from my courses, then you're welcome to do that. That's okay. I would love to hear your feedback, but I'm not going to be angry at you. So just see what feels right to you. And it feels nice to be able to just trust that people are going to be fair. And yeah, I think that is kind of part of this unlearning of competition and mistrust that feels really good and healing to me. I want to recap really quickly how Daydreaming Wolves came to be as well, and where we're going with that. So actually, I don't know why I'm saying we. It's really just me. I don't have a team, but I count you as maybe part of the community. I know. So so about a year and a half into running my web design business under ceremonies.com, I noticed that people started to come to that site really to look for advice on tech stuff and web design, which was great, and I felt honored, but I also realized that it was inappropriate to have all my private writing on there as well. It was just confusing to people, and I wanted to give that writing its own space. So that's how daydreamingwolves.com initially came to be, and honestly I can't really remember how I came up with that name, but I remember that I just really love the book Women Who Run with Wolves, and I think that daydreaming is super important. So that's kind of that story. And initially I was just writing, and then I started a podcast about a year and a half ago. And yeah, like I said in the beginning, it was a super slow start. The first few episodes were just me talking to myself about things that I care about and kind of speaking into the void. And then I found the confidence and courage to approach people and be like, hey, do you want to be on the show? I'd love to talk to you because I love your work. And I'm really grateful to all the amazing people that have said yes and that have shared such really creative and like healing and vulnerable and beautiful stuff in the show. And I feel lucky that I get to share these conversations with everyone as well. And then last year, I also started offering tarot readings. I had used the tarot for myself for a long time, and it's just something I feel so passionate about, because I think it's beautiful if we get to be witnessed by someone else, and we get to have some outside inspiration on the things that we're struggling with. And so yeah, I feel really grateful that I get to do that. The way I see the tarot, to me, it's a tool for self-reflection. It's a way to kind of reconnect with enchantment and with our own intuition, and to work with the big questions of life in a really creative and beautiful way. And yeah, like I said, I just feel really lucky to get to do this work. I still mainly make my income through the web design work, and I love that because I feel it's become more authentic over time. I really love my clients and I believe in their work, and I love working creatively, and I love that I get to work from home. I shared on Instagram this week a couple of things that have changed for me by working for myself, and one of those things was, for example, not having an alarm in the morning anymore. So my little dog just wakes me up, and I kind of get to work with the rhythms of my own body, which feels really helpful. We go into the woods for a walk every day. I cook my own lunch, and I just live a bit more slowly, which feels like such a luxury, especially compared to the years that I was working for someone else in London or in Berlin in really fast-paced environments. There's a couple of things I want to share that I wish I had known sooner. For example, that I wish I had known that I have permission to try things without doing expensive courses. So I've done a couple of courses that felt really nurturing and helpful. I've studied with SSH, for example, which really just has been so beautiful. But I've also done a few courses that were quite expensive just out of insecurity, because I thought that I needed that stamp of approval from someone else to figure things out. And sometimes I learned stuff, and sometimes I didn't really learn stuff that I wanted to implement. And looking back now, I just wish that I had more confidence to say, you know what, I can just read a book about this. It's probably going to teach me just as much, and I don't need to buy this really expensive course that I can't actually afford anyway. I really feel that guidance, support, and community were way more important in succeeding and creating something that is resilient and sustainable. I really love reaching out to people. I feel like I've created a great community around me of other business owners. In some ways through the podcast, because these conversations deepened the relationships I had with these people, but also through Instagram or forming small informal masterminds, or just talking to people and, asking them what they're currently struggling with and what ideas they have. I also learned that slow and steady wins the race, and that self-care for entrepreneurs is super important. So really, like, this journey of beginning to reconnect with our bodies and learning to listen to them, and to work with our energy levels, and to take breaks and rest, and to remember that this is how we're being creative. I just know that when I'm well rested and I almost start to get a bit bored sometimes, the best ideas come in, and so that time is so worth it. I also kind of learned to question things in a more critical way, which feels really good. So in the beginning, I think I was really looking for, like I said, like leadership. I wanted to learn how to be a good business owner and how to make more money, because I had worked for minimum wage for more than a decade, and I think I had a lot of healing to do around trust and my ability to take care of my needs, and to trust that I will always have enough. And so I was quite keen on making money and saving a bit and getting out of debt and all of that. And I would still like to be debt free right now. And I might not be for a couple of years, but that's okay. I feel a lot more solid and stable in my relationship to money. And I also feel that I want to be more critical of the kind of narratives that we sometimes have around small businesses. So I really don't want to see any more ads about how I can make 6 figures with this one system, because it sucks and it's just not true, There's a huge difference if you have $5,000 to spend on Facebook ads in your first year in business. Amazing, good for you. Like, if you have a vision that's cool and it's going to serve a lot of people, then I'm so happy for you. But there's just a difference, It's different if you're starting with no budget. And also, I think there's no such thing as overnight success. Like, some people get really lucky and they get shout outs from big numbers, and that gives you a real boost, and that's so beautiful. And I've been really lucky in those ways as well. But I've mainly also just worked for it, and I just showed up and did the work and tried to be resourceful. And so, yeah, I don't want to make these huge promises anymore. I'm really excited about the business course that I'm going to offer, but I also want to be really clear that that's not going to promise you overnight success, and it's not like this mysterious magical key that I found that's going to solve all your problems. It's just going to give you a framework to create solid structures for yourself, and it's hopefully going to teach you some practical tools that you can apply in your own way. Yeah, so finally I want to talk a little bit about what my plans are and what I'm wishing for. So like I said, I would really love to make the podcast a weekly thing once I get to 30 patrons. I really want to talk to more people about things that we care about, and I want to talk about alternative approaches to creativity and business and magic. I would love to have more time to study herbalism because that's something I'm really passionate about, and I've just had a great mentoring session with Ray from takeherherbals.com, which was wonderful, and we talked about like where I'm going next, and I'm just really passionate about talking about self-healing and community care, and I want to have more to teach the people that are patrons through the monthly ritual kits that they receive. So that's a big priority for me, studying herbalism. On a practical level, I would also love to create more community of like-minded business owners through the webinars that I'm running. And I want to offer more affordable training on what I learned in the past 2 years. I want to have some time to update the free courses that I'm running. So for Daydreaming Wolves, there's a course called Everyday Magic that you can sign up for free. And then for my web design business, there's a do-it-yourself branding and design kit, which is pretty cool, but I think it can do with an update, and I want to do that next. And then I would really like to make my house in Portugal habitable. So it's a beautiful story. In 2016, I was spending 3 months in a cabin on a mountain by myself to do some soul searching and to work a ton and to dream about the future that I wanted to create for myself. And I didn't have any savings at the time, but I fell in love with this piece of abandoned farmland, 2 acres with a bit of woodland and a tiny house, and I just knew it was meant to be, but I didn't know how. And obviously I was not going to get a mortgage as someone working for myself with no savings, and it being in Portugal as well. But I had donated eggs to a lesbian couple in London a couple of years before that, and I told them about this plan, and they very generously offered to borrow me that money. And so I'm paying that back over 5 years, which is quite fast-paced, but I'm just really so grateful that I got a chance to build this home for myself without a 30-year mortgage. And so I would like to spend more time in Portugal to rebuild this house. It's not habitable right now, and it's also teeny tiny. It needs a bathroom and a kitchen, it needs a door and a window, and the roof needs some updates. So that's kind of on my wish list for the next couple of years. And then I would like to finish writing my book. It's called Sweet Liberation, and it's been in the making for 2 years. But the process is pretty slow at the moment, and I think building the Patreon will give me more time and space to work on that, and that's really exciting as well. And then I would love to run retreats for like-minded people to come together and, dream together, maybe learn about permaculture, just be out in nature and connect. That's something I'm really excited about as well. And I would like to teach more locally in Brighton also. These are my wishes. I would love to just be able to support my communities in richer ways with more resources, and I want to make more magic, and I want to talk to more people, and I want to have more naps and good food. These are kind of my dreams. So yeah, I'm offering a couple of things to celebrate my 3-year anniversary. So one thing, like I said, is if you pledge $11 or more on the Patreon, you're gonna get access to my current courses, which are the branding course and the WordPress web design course. And then you also have early access in mid-April to the Holistic Business Magic course. If you just want to buy the WordPress web design and branding with Canva courses right now, just like at one-off, they are $30. They're reduced, they're packaged. I'm going to add all of that in the show notes. Usually the package is $69, so it's a discount to celebrate with you. And I'm also going to be offering donation-based tarot readings again in the next 2 weeks, and I will announce those on Instagram, so head over there if you're interested in that. And another way that I would be really grateful of you supporting me is if you just leave a review on the podcast, because that means it's being found by more people, and it also means more support for the other small business owners that come on the show. And finally, before I go, I really want to say that I really, really do want to hear from you. So sometimes people email me and they're a bit shy and they're like, oh, I don't know, like, thanks for your time and I hope it's okay to email you. And I'm like, yes, it's definitely okay. I love to hear from you. I would love to hear what you think about the show. I would love to hear what you want to know more about, or who else you want to have on the show. Maybe it's you, maybe it's someone else. Maybe you have questions. Maybe there's something you don't like. Tell me absolutely everything. I would really, really love to hear. Thank you so much for listening all the way, and for supporting my business, and for being just such a wonderful audience, and for lifting the show up to 10,000 listeners in such a short period of time. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day, and happy belated new moon to you. Bye.